Welcome to Stories with Dice. This is the Dark Blue Sea, a Mutant Year Zero actual play podcast. If you're enjoying our actual plays, please subscribe to Stories with Dice so you'll never miss an episode. Don't forget to rate and review us. It really helps others discover the podcast. Follow us on social media to stay updated, share your thoughts, and join the conversation. You'll find the relevant links in the description of each episode.
Hey, everybody. It's episode 5, I think. Yes, episode 5. We'll go to episode 5. I'd just like to say hi to the whole crew. Marco's back. Hurrah! Welcome back, Marco.
Thank you.
We are joined, as usual, by Douglas.
Hello.
Say Pete.
Hiya.
And Chris.
Hi there.
Cool. Well, I'm guessing that you're not listening to this mid-podcast or mid-episodes. So go listen to the other episodes and you'll catch up to where we are now. So I'm not going to bother doing that. So we'll get straight into it, apart from maybe where we left off for the last couple of seconds last session.
Yep.
So you were all sailing into a particularly nasty squall and the water is hitting your catamaran. The waves are sort of crashing against it. It seems that the Roach is managing to kind of keep it under control of some sort, and you're all kind of fighting against the water to kind of get it further. You can see ahead of you through the squall the island that you know that you've seen to the north of your arc, and you're kind of trying to use that sort of almost break the waters that you can to kind of move south to get to that channel between the island and the arc. And to do so, Roach is going to require a force roll because he is the one manning the ropes is where we left off. So if you could do that for me, that'd be great. It appears that's obviously the dice are with you this time, as opposed to last time. I reckon that Marco is someone you need to keep with you. You know, he's a lucky rabbit's foot. Yeah, you managed to maintain control as the waves constantly hit the ship, but you're driven slightly off course, and you end up making your way towards that island to the north. But you manage to maneuver into a small little inlet, and there you can take shelter from the storm until the storm passes. Yeah, what are you going to do when you get to the inlet? Or
Do I know anything about this little island?
No, you've seen it to the north. What do you know? Have you explored it? Sure, why not? We'll say you've explored it. In fact, some of the other parties went up there. And what do we know about it? We know that on the actual island, it is pretty much quite barren. It's got a little bit of a rocky shore, and then it kind of like raises maybe sort of 10 or 15 feet above sea level. And up the top, there is or so you've been told, there is a large garden where there is small game and little birds and sort of like small, large rats. Do you want to talk about the rats? Let's not talk about the rats. And that's what's there. And so people have kind of like managed to, some of the people from the Ark have managed to get there and sort of like root around for some supplies. But you yourself have never been here.
Okay.
Which reminds me, does someone want to roll me a D6 -1, I think?
I'm happy to do it if nobody else wants to.
Give it a go.
Go for it. -1, eh?
-1, yeah.
That's a 5.
Hurrah! 5 people died from the Ark.
It's fine. They were making their own decisions. It's their fault.
Yeah. So, thanks.
Happy to oblige the Grim Reaper.
Any time. Yeah, so that's what you know about the island. You lot have never been aboard the island or on board, landed on the island. It's raining, it's horrible. You don't really know how long the squall is going to last for or the rain is going to last for. What would you like to do?
Did we hear that there might be any chance of anywhere on the island to get out of the rain? You know, is there a building, shelter, a cave, anything like that?
Let's have a look. Why don't you make me... Did you speak to anyone? Let's have a look. Why don't you make me either manipulate or sense emotion? It's the kind of thing you do to kind of like chat to people, that kind of thing. Basically anything to do with empathy.
Sorry, my fort is being super slow.
That's right. If you want, I can do it.
I'm probably going to roll 5 times now, but I still don't see a thing come up.
That's fine. Let me do that for you. I'll just roll for you. Now it'll kind of like link the other. So yeah, you remember someone said there were some small houses on the island.
Yeah, hey,
Like-
I heard there's a couple small houses. We could get out of this shabby weather.
Sounds like a plan. We should tie up the boat.
The North boat. That's fine.
So we don't, lose it in the storm.
Okay. Yeah, the boat's got anchors and stuff, so it's all fine to kind of be moored up. You can essentially tie the boat to the landmass. That's not a problem. Are you all going to go ashore, or are you just gonna? Only some of you are going to go ashore.
No, we should all stick together. We're not going to split the party. That never ends. That never ends well in horror movies.
Okay.
Did your friends must say where exactly these buildings were on the island?
In the center.
I say what I recall. Yeah.
All right, let's go that way then.
Okay.
And I heard there are some gardens. There might be edible plant life. There's game. We do have to watch out for giant fucking spiders. I mean, rats. I'm sorry. Giant fucking rats.
And spiders. Anything giant.
Anything giant, yes, on 4 legs. Or
I
2.
I guess we still got a few bullets.
Okay. Yeah, you all kind of traipse ashore and head towards the center of the island. As you kind of like crest sort of like the rise, the island itself is relatively flat. There are trees and stuff on here, and you kind of make your way towards the center. As you get towards the center, there's like a wall around an inner part of the island, and the wall kind of encompasses like a central part of the island. And there's various gates, large sort of like archways that you can kind of go through. And inside, you've got all these partitioned off areas that have all got overgrown trees and bushes and plant life stuff in it. It's almost like the walls have kind of like protected it from the storms. It's kind of got its own little microclimate, if you knew what a microclimate was. And studded around the entire place are lots of small buildings made of material from before the fall. And all over the place are stone effigies, and there's writing and stuff on all of these little things. Douglas, do you want to make comprehend or read, or you can read, can't you, Douglas? Cochrane read.
Yes, I can read, but I can't necessarily comprehend what I'm reading.
Okay. Well, it appears
So I can tell people what they say. I might not necessarily understand the context.
essentially all of the sort of like stones sticking out from the ground are all markers of people's deaths.
So it's a bunch of
Congratulations.
names.
You're in a cemetery.
Yeah, but I don't get what these landlubbers' sort of obsession of putting their people in the ground is. They seem to do that all the time. Seems a very inefficient way to do things. We just chuck them into the water,
And what happens? And what
sinks to the bottom, and then you don't have to worry about it. But they seem to like to remind themselves of the dead all the time. It's very odd.
last I knew, bodies floated, Cochrane.
But they float away.
We put the stones in the material we wrap them in, and that's what makes them sing.
Yes, I know.
And then they become fish food. And then we eat the fish. So we should just cut out the middleman, is what I'm saying.
You really want that project cannibalism, right? Okay. Yeah, you're in this really lovely cemetery, which is kind of like protected. It's quite a large cemetery. If you could probably count more than to 30 or 40, it would be a lot of those. Yeah, it's quite large. It probably would have been, if this was a city, it probably would have been the city's cemetery. But it's it's very, very, very kind of sheltered in here. And as soon as you go into one of these little houses, absolutely you're sheltered from the storm.
Much better already.
Is there more writing of names and stuff in this little
There
shelter
is
as well?
Yep. There's definitely more writings of names. When you go into one of the little houses, there's more squares sort of like carved into one of the walls with lots of names, and there's probably about 8 or 9 people in here.
And we read the years or the death dates, I guess.
You can do, but it means nothing to you.
Okay. Well, it looks like these people must be very fancy because they build like houses for their dead, which is very extravagant because nobody's like, if you're dead, you don't need a house. So these must be very important people.
And
to get
carving
housed.
all these stones. Who's got time for that?
The ancients had time for many strange habits. They had far too much time on their hands, if you ask me.
All the things you could build if you had that much time.
And look what it got them.
Fancy houses for us to shelter in. I'm down. Thanks, ancient people. Well done.
Is there anything you want to do on the island, or are you just happy to take refuge and then wait for the storm to pass?
Well, I mean, you said there was lots of plants and all. I mean, probably a pretty wide variety of plants. Maybe it's good to forage. I don't know. I'm not great with plants, but I don't think I've ever seen that many different ones in such a small space.
Yeah, I mean, there's an awful lot, and lots of variety as well. I mean, you've probably not seen so many different varieties of plant in one place.
It might make
not
sense.
like I know anything about this, but I've heard that you can use plants to heal diseases and such. Maybe these are the plants, Maybe that's what the dead ancestors give you if you build them houses.
It's a nice bit of reasoning there, Moss.
You're used to my strange inventy ideas. This could work.
If we're going to do that, I think we should still wait out the storm before we venture out. I mean, the storm is pretty horrendous, right?
Yeah, it's probably like blowing a proper gale. It's not nice out.
Yeah, we should wait it out.
Yeah, I mean, you're protected in the garden to a degree, or in the cemetery to a degree, but obviously it's still raining and it's still cold. And yeah,
we don't want to get whacked in the head by branches or flying debris.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, you wait it out. It probably, by the time you got there, it was getting dark. So you probably wait overnight as it rains and howls outside. You can all take off a water and a food off your couch sheets.
Hey, there's lots of lovely, nice rain. Wouldn't that be good to gather as fresh water?
Do you want to gather fresh water, or do you want to gather water from the storm?
I mean, I'm sort of thinking if it's rain, it can't have rot, but I'm not 100% certain on this.
Sure, that seems like a plan.
I love it when he says that. It could be acid rain, couldn't it?
Yeah.
It could be.
It could very well be.
I think we would have noticed at this point after wandering through the storm for like an hour.
I suppose that's true.
Yes, if you want to collect the rainwater, you can do. You can collect enough rainwater, which means you won't have to spend one of your waters, if that's what you would like to do instead.
Yes.
Sounds like a good idea.
Okay.
These fancy house dwellers, the dead people, they must be very well off if they have houses for their dead. Can I try and crack open one of these sarcophagus things? I assume it's just like a stone box of some sort.
So in the houses, they're basically looks like a plaque on the wall. That's what it looks like. There could be something behind the plaque.
Yeah, I'll try and pull off the plaque. Why not? Because some more metal might be useful for slapping to the boat if we break it again.
Could so Roach, Moss, you're both going to drink the water collected by the rain.
Yeah,
please make a strength roll.
I'm so going to die of rot.
Is Cochrane going to do that as well?
No.
I'm going to war. It's fine.
I'm sorry.
And
Caspian is going to drink his own water.
Okay.
Yep. No passes.
Okay. Thanks. Okay. It seems fine. Meanwhile, Cochrane, so you say you want to kind of lever it open.
If I inkling there might be something behind it. I assume it feels like there's more of this place from the outside. It's not like a TARDIS.
Yeah. No. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's fine. You've got a whole night to do it in, so in which case I'm not going to make you make a roll. Yeah, you can pop it open and break it open, and inside there is what's left of a body, like some bones and a whole bunch of dirt and dust. Do you want to do me a favor and roll me in fact, I will. I roll it. I haven't rolled it for a while.
Oh, a private roll, my favorite.
Well, did you enjoy the roll I made public the other day?
I enjoyed hearing about it, but I was pissed I didn't see it.
Let's have a look. What do you find?
Lots of rats, probably.
You kind of break open the thing, you find this body. You going to rummage around the body, or are you going to look for anything specific outside of the body itself?
Okay, I guess I'll have a rummage, stick my head in and rummage a bit.
Okay.
Because it's quite dark.
And this is interesting. I don't think I've ever seen bones because we toss our dead. We don't look at them.
Yeah, I mean, you
just fish bones.
You kind of know the bones of a person. You probably would have had. You would have been to places where they string out people who have committed crimes, and you would have seen bones and stuff. Yeah, so you kind of rummage around. And you find there's this hard little glass tube. And inside the tube, there is a bunch of different sized and different shaped dice. There's a 20, there's a 10, there's a 12-sided, there's a 6, there's a 4. And they're all kind of, there's got this sort of weird sort of like luminescent pearl kind of look to it. Congratulations, you found yourself a tube of dice.
Polyhedral dice.
Ooh.
Anthony would have been so happy.
Okay, yeah, that's what you find.
Have we come across dice? Do we use dice? Like,
yeah, you probably use sort of like D6 dice kind of thing when you're gambling, that kind of thing.
Look at this. It's like a D6, but it's higher numbers, so I can win even better.
So many different shapes. Wonder what they did with those. Must have been a fancy game. Fancy game for fancy people.
There is also on this person some slightly off yellow coloured bracelets.
Well, they found a bar of off yellow. That was rubbish.
It's very similar to the other off yellow bars that you found.
Yeah.
So while Cochrane is grave robbing and Moss and Roach are collecting rainwater and then drinking it, I don't like being in a cemetery. I don't like being in a house of the dead. So I'm most likely hanging out by the door. And if there's a window, I'm just like gazing out the window. I've got my gun handy, and I'm just like waiting for the ambush to happen that I feel is probably happening.
Okay. Yeah, you look out for the ambush that's probably going to happen. Do you want to make a scout roll, please? It's raining and stuff, so -2 from it. It's quite squally weather. So
how do I do the -2?
So when you go into rolling for your scout, you just put where it says skill, just put -2.
So tell me how to read this result. How many successes do I have?
So you've got 1 success because you've got 1 radiation sign.
Okay.
That's it. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. If you'd have pushed, you do damage.
Right. The explosion is bad. Got it.
Yeah.
Then what's the biohazard symbol?
So no, the biohazard symbol is the bad thing.
Oh, okay.
So biohazard bad, radiation good.
Got it.
Explosion is for if you had any equipment. If you rolled that, then they'd be.
Oh, got it. It's like a gear die. Okay.
Yeah. So in any black dice that you roll would be gear dice. Yeah, you look around through the rain, and you kind of like you think your mind's playing tricks on you. You're pretty sure there's someone out there. When you kind of like stare and look, there's definitely no one out there. The sort of you've got no real lighting except for sort of like the lightning that kind of goes off in the sky. Yes, it just pretty much goes like that, and you end up being on edge for quite a bit of the night. Yep. By early morning, the storm has blown itself out, and it is replaced with a relatively warm morning. The sun comes out and it's relatively clear. What do you plan on doing?
Well, we're here. We might as well have a look around, as Moss had suggested. Scavenge for plants, scavenge for stuff, explore.
Now that it's clearer, can we see the arc from here?
Yeah, you kind of, if you go to the edge of the island, you go to sort of like the southern part of the island and look across. Yeah, you can make out the arc. You just make out the arc.
And does the boat seem fine?
Yeah, the boat seems to have weathered the storm.
Good.
Marco, Caspian wants to rummage around. So if you want to make a rummage around roll, so I guess that's the find the path for you.
I do have a scavenger talent, which gives me a +2 to my find the path.
Excellent. You can absolutely add that one to your roll.
And that goes on the skill?
It goes on the skill, yeah.
Sorry for being stupid.
It's always fun to remember what it is that you're doing. Okay, so you've
it looks like I have one. It looks like I have 1 success.
Right. Okay. Which pretty much means you can do one thing. So you can either try and look for artifacts, which is what you're doing, I'm guessing, or you're trying to find bullets. You're trying to find grub. You're trying to find rot-free water. They're the sort of like 3 things that you would want to kind of look for. I look here. Yeah. So you get to pick one of those, and you can do that.
I'm gonna find an artifact.
I'll let you roll this.
Please let it be an atomic bomb. Please let it be an atomic bomb.
In that case, let me roll that.
No. I want to roll it. Please let me roll it.
Yeah, but we have to comprehend what it is or we'll blow ourselves up.
Okay. Well, if you want to roll me a D666, there you go.
I think 354
or 534 if you want. What would you like?
I don't know.
If you click on it,
can I see the list?
If you Yeah, no.
Yeah,
What would you like that? 354. Okay. So 354, and if you roll another D666, that'll give me the other one.
Okay, this time I'm going to do it one at a time.
Okay, 412. Okay, then. So you're sort of like rummaging around, and as you sort of like are looking around, you notice that there's something half buried in the corner of the cemetery. You make your way over there, and you can see that there is one of the vehicles that the people from the time before loved to sort of like drive around in. And as you sort of like rummaging around in it, you kind of like start to unearth it. And inside, you can see the vehicle's actually in relatively good nick, considering most of the vehicles you've seen are rusted through or burnt out or whatever. This is kind of in sort of okay shape, but then you kind of like find that the actual back end of the vehicle is still intact. And so you kind of, the back of the vehicle, and inside there is like a red plastic bottle, quite a large one. And there's probably a whole bunch of liquid inside.
A red plastic bottle with liquid inside. Is it clear liquid? Is it?
You want to open up the?
Oh, the bottle's not clear.
No, the bottle is red. It's a very plastic red.
Okay,
large.
You can't see through it. Got it.
It's a very large. We'll call it a jerry can, shall we? Just for
to
get an idea of what the sort of shape it is.
Got it.
And there's liquid inside. There is also a bag. And there is some stuff inside the bag.
What's inside the bag?
You open up the bag and you find what looks like a very hard-wearing hat, and also a hard-wearing chest thing. It looks like it's armor.
Oh, fancy schmancy.
Fancy schmancy.
I will put the armor on. Thank you very much.
Okay. Yeah, the hat kind of like clips in on place around your chin, and the armor has kind of got these big chest pieces, and on the back of the armor there's like hardly any armor on the back. There is some. There is a picture of a couple of crossed weapons, sort of like L-shaped weapons, and there is also some leg armor as well.
So I don't know if you want to add that to my sheet or not.
Yeah, I'm gonna
and then I'll open up the cap to the container and sort of sniff to see what liquid smells like, if there is a smell.
Yeah, it's a horrible smell. You really know what it is. It's petrol.
Is this something that we have use for? Do we use petrol?
You have used petrol before in the art prior to the big storm. You would have used it to run generators and stuff. It's really difficult to come by.
Okay.
Oh man, and it burns so well. If we ever run into more of those rats, this is going to be amazing.
Fuck yes.
Yeah, look at you all armored up with
a can.
Everyone stay out of his way. Yeah, the rest of you are sort of like, rummage around, and you don't seem to be that. He seems to be the one who's found everything.
This petrol will come in handy when we need fuel to start our cannibalism barbecues.
Right? Well,
no reaction from anyone. Wow. Okay.
So like, what? No.
Like, yes, that's normal speed. That's normal for him. Yes.
I went on a trip with Caspian once before. He has a very strange sense of humor, if it is a sense of humor.
I mean, that's why he slept in the boat last night.
Or maybe
before last.
Maybe he just has strange cravings.
Maybe we're getting there. Yeah, you kind of figure that you kind of pick the island clean. Although this would make a great place for a garden or a place to grow vegetables or anything like that, if that's something that you felt you needed to. Yeah, and it kind of is quite protected, and it's quite a big size area. So,
yeah, because that soil didn't leach all the chemicals used in embalming at all. No. I'm sure
it'll be fine. Absolutely no problem.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
Ed, I was wandering around on the southern part of the beach.
Yeah.
Now, Moss spotted there was like underwater buildings. Do they like appear like up on the southern edge, like the buildings I think go underwater, like where she was swimming?
No, there seems to be sort of like more heart or more sort of like broken ground that kind of like sort of comes towards the water's edge. So the actual cemetery parkland is actually outside of the walls as well, but it kind of slowly gradiates down into sort of like the broken rocks and the old kind of black tops that sort of like are crushed up. There are sort of like bits of ruins here and there, but it's not really what you would say packed with sort of like ruins. The only way you'd be able to do that is if you were to kind of like go swimming in the
Is there like black tarmac bits that just go off to the south and then just disappear into the, as in like they just
Yes. Yeah, so at some point, you clearly are on the top of a hill if this was a large landmass. And obviously the water has rushed in either side and created this sort of like channel of water. You knew that sort of thing.
Too bad I didn't take my C4 tubes out of the boat to see where the other end of this road might be, but they're a bit heavy to haul around by once.
You imagine that the buildings that you've seen sort of like going south, and then if you were to go southwest, there's that whole section of building where the large antenna was, or the large building was. That's pretty much would have connected. If you kind of use your imagination, you could quite easily see that connecting.
Interesting.
Right. Any other plans for any of you? Or you want to get the hell out of Dodge and go back to the Ark?
Yeah, I'm thinking one of the bosses might really like to know about this place. If we're stuck here, we need to figure out how to get grub. This place might be good for that.
I agree. We should definitely sort of designate this little island as a food production place. We can start growing some crops here, assuming that we have seeds, assuming that someone on the Ark knows how to do that.
Yeah, there are seeds and stuff in the Ark, because you were growing food and stuff on the actual ship. So you could potentially transplant it across here.
Always good to have a backup supply.
It's true. It's almost like you want to look at perhaps something like cropland or a project that kind of has that sort of thing. You make your way back to the Ark in that case. It doesn't take very long. You sail around the south part of the island and you make your way back to the Ark. All right. By the time you get back, you guys are back in the Ark. So I'm going to ask you, does anybody want to look at any more projects? Currently, you have got 2 projects that you have now completed. You sent everyone out on for hunting parties, and the defenses around the ship have been shored up and have been increased. You've found some artifacts. Is there anything else you would like to do as a group? What would the Ark like to do next?
Sure. Any way to start like patching holes?
So what is it you would like? So there's
like at some point we're going to want to like leave this place on the boat.
So the day, if someone has got any kind of gearhead skills, I look at the gearhead jury rig. Can you make a jury rig roll, please?
Sure. I feel massively emboldened by the fix that we gave our little boat. I mean, I can do this on any scale. This is fine.
How did you get on your roll?
That's 2 successes, I think.
Okay. Yeah, you reckon, and you've got a modest skill in being able to fix things. The ship itself potentially could be fixed, but it would take, probably half a year, maybe a year to fix that ship with the scrap that you have. It would be a very large job and very difficult to do, but eventually it could be done. But it would take you a long period of time.
Do I realize where the biggest bottleneck is? I mean, is it how many gearheads that we have? Is it how much material we have? Is it the sheer size of the ship?
Let me take you to the ship. We'll give you an idea of what the ship looks like now. So as you can see, it's missing the whole of the front of the ship. So that would have to be rebuilt. And that is over 5 or 6 stories. There's also multiple fractures and breaks in the base of the ship, which means you'd have to work inside. And you would need to be welding and doing various other things. So you're going to need to get all of those things to be able to do that, which means you're going to have to go searching and probably end up trading with multiple other peoples to get the goods you need to be able to do that. And right now, you're barely surviving.
Yeah, maybe this shouldn't be our first priority. Maybe she's never going to sail again.
There's no way that boat is going to be seaworthy.
What, we're just going to live on land now forever? Well, don't see that happening. Everyone will go stir crazy in a week.
First order of business is survival. Then we worry about that particular.
Like, some people are looking a bit twitchy from the lack of rocking going on because they can barely keep their too steady. They can't keep their balance anymore.
Yep.
Well, we know there's other big boats out there. maybe at some point we might be able to tempt one
We
in.
saw one in the
You
distance.
did see in our distance to the north.
There are big boats out there in this area.
So in terms of projects, I do think, looking at the list of projects from the book, I do think cropland should be one. We can set aside the land on that little tiny island.
Yeah.
Start cultivating some food. As Ed said, we're barely surviving, and that'll certainly move the needle.
So currently, if you look at your development levels, food is actually your highest at the moment on 14.
Yes.
Culture, not so much. You're all pretty much, not really kind of moving that forward. You're all still kind of fighting with each other. Technology is kind of like progressing. You're just about to hit the next level. And warfare is you're still sort of fairly low key in being able to protect yourselves. But absolutely, if you were to go for cropland, it would increase your food supply quite a lot, and you'd start to be living, rather than hand to mouth every day. Absolutely.
Because then we don't have to worry about that.
Yep.
We can start worrying about warfare and other things besides just
that'll
hoping
be
that we
next
have
on our
enough.
list because we're going to have to protect the new cropland.
Exactly. And I think one of the things we should do when we get there is a watchtower.
I like that thought. That would be quick to materialize, compared to the other
Yeah, I mean, there's multiple things that you could do. All right. So are you all in agreement that croplands is your next thing to do?
Yeah, sounds good.
The other things you can do from the supplement we're using is to actually build other scrap vessels so you can make smaller boats, although I do not think that you have sufficient amount of technology yet to do that.
All in good time.
All in good time. The technology is 10, which means that what's the lowest that you can build? So for ships, you need to double it to build some scrap ships or other things like that. So you could probably make some rafts, and you could probably make a small catamaran, that kind of thing. But that's pretty much what you're looking at. You wouldn't be able to do anything that would survive any kind of deep water kind of like sailing. Okay, so I shall stick cropland in, and then after cropland, you're thinking of
Watchtower?
watchtower.
Now, should the watchtower be on the boat or should it be on the island? And can we put something on the island? Can we extend that? Can we consider the arc to be like part of, can we consider the island to be part of our arc?
I mean, you could do, you just then start building out from the ship.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you could quite easily do that. I mean, ideally, you could build like a separate watchtower from what's left of the funnel to kind of, when we're talking a watchtower, it could also be sort of like smaller towers around the arc.
Mm-hmm.
So that would also work. So it wouldn't just have to be just one watchtower.
Okay,
you could build, a separate one so it kind of adds to sort of like the smaller outposts, as it were. Yep. Okay, well, do any of you want to help with the cropland, or are you going to leave them to themselves, or do you want to help with the watchtower? I mean, it's up to you. Sure.
I'll help with the cropland.
Yep. So you either need to know the zone or
I have
your
that.
skills.
I have know the zone. I have know the zone, and I have endure, but no, I don't have endure. I just have know the zone.
Okay.
Sorry, I lied.
Okay, so you're gonna help with the cropland.
Mhm.
Is Cochrane going to help with anything, or are you gonna?
Are we doing
Say-
them simultaneously?
Yeah, you
That's
can.
fine. Then I'll
Yeah.
I'll go to the watchtower then. So I've got
So that
my
requires
skill
endure or scout.
to a useful skill for my experience last week, which means bad omens, which means I can now use my empathy for my scout rolls.
Nice, cool.
So
Pete, what does Roach want to do?
Yeah, I'll help out with the watchtowers.
And what's Moss going to do?
The watchtower seems mildly more in my wheelhouse. I think that's sort of constructy.
Okay. Right. Well, in that case,
Leave the cannibal wannabe to make crops. That's good.
okay, that's fine.
It's all going to taste a bit fishy, but it's going to be nicer.
Yeah,
Well,
well, the lettuce helps the human meat go down.
Okay, yeah, Marco, do you want to make a know the zone roll?
One success for Caspian.
Right, one success, so that's 11 more successes you're going to require. Okay. And for the watchtower, do the rest if you want to make an endure or scout roll to construct the watchtower.
No successes.
Not going well, so it's all down to you, Chris. Oh, no. Okay. Right, well.
It collapsed.
Collapses. Yeah.
No,
it just doesn't finish it, though.
You just don't really basically, there's a lot of infighting between the cropland and the watchtower, and the people that are doing the cropland that go to help with that are the wrong people, which are the right people you need for the watchtower. The watchtower people are you basically at cross purposes, and the gangs aren't really talking to each other. But you do get to make a start on the cropland. There's a little bit of clearing. You just don't get all the people you possibly could need. You realize it's going to take quite a while to get where you need to be with this. But that's just the way it goes. So in the game itself, really, you only take one project. Well, I don't really mind having two projects. It just means it divides the players to roles. So if you wanted to each pick a project, you could do that. But obviously, it just means you're going to take ages to go through things. So in this case, say for the cropland, it's 3 times the number of PCs is the number of successes you need. So, and then for the watchtower, it's 1 times the number of PCs. So although you could have potentially done that at this session, it just didn't go to plan, unfortunately.
Say, we split the party. We made a mistake.
Yeah, that's that. But it does mean that you guys spend sort of a bit of downtime, sort of 3 or 4 days kind of doing all that. And everyone kind of continues on. You don't need to roll for any kind of food or anything while you're in while you're in your art. But an event does happen.
Does my debuff recover over that time?
Yes, all of you can recover. I don't think any of you else have any criticals, but you're all. I don't think. You're fine.
Yeah, it was just my.
I think I might try and get rid of my rot though.
Oh, the rot.
Yes. So we do the rot then. That's always fun. Okay. The joys of rot. Let me just get the rules for you for this. For the people listening, while I look through the wonders of my book, because it'd be too easy otherwise. We're recovering from rot. It's always fun. So you get it, obviously, when you take damage when you take it, potentially, depending on how well you roll. When you go back to scrub it off, it can potentially become permanent. So when you're back in the art or take refuge in some other rot-free area, 1 rot point will leave your body every day. If you wash your body in clean water, half of your rot points rounded up go away immediately. When you're contaminated by the rot, there's a risk that you will stay in your body forever. Every time you're about to lose 1 rot point, roll 1 base dice. If you roll a 1, essentially, the rot point stays and becomes permanent. So yeah, that's where you push your little yellow button on our game mechanic, and it'll give you that. Well, I take it no one actually got permanent rot out of all that.
I think everyone failed 2 paths, if that makes sense.
Excellent, yeah. So that's all good.
All non-1.
Oh wait, was I supposed to? I didn't roll anything. Was I supposed to roll something?
You stayed in the boat. I don't think
stayed in the boat.
Yeah. You were not exposed to the rat.
So, but yeah, you didn't get any rot from the rats. So no, everyone is rot free. Thank you very much. Yeah. Right. So while you do that, so you kind of work on your projects. It continues on. It's getting a little bit better, but it's still not perfect. You're still having to fight for food. You're still having to sort of send people out into the island, sort of like to rummage around for food and water. You've got collectors and stuff on the ship, which seem to be working fine for the moment. I think you said you had sort of like a water filtration system. That all seems fine. Could one of you please roll me 6d6?
I suppose I could do that.
Right.
24. Douglas rolled a 24.
Your water filtration system starts to sort of like break down a little bit, and but it's still usable. It now has sort of like a rating of 5 instead of 6, and essentially you're starting to get wear and tear. And because we've it's starting to just break down a bit. There just isn't enough to sort of like keep it maintained at the moment. But that's fine. I might ask that sort of like every 2 or 3 sessions just to kind of see how it's going. But it's going all right.
You do have that random tap out on the.
There is a random tap. Yes, absolutely.
That has more comes out of it. How much of it?
Yeah. And sort of like the day-to-day activities of the arc continues on. The gangs kind of try as best they can to sort of like get on with each other. It's just a continual sort of circuit of trying to get food, make sure everything's fine, try and maintain as much as they can, and keep going as much as the rest of the peoples can.
Did we miss Scooter's funeral?
Morale's not great. It's kind of on a scale of 1 to 10. I suppose the morale's probably about a 4. People are sort of like are unsure how it's going to go. It's still relatively sort of like maybe 2 or 3 weeks into sort of being beached. You're definitely getting used to living on dry land. Absolutely. People are starting to sort of like fracture a little bit. The gangs are starting to get a bit more sort of precious of the areas that they are in. It hasn't come to blows. There isn't sort of like a war or a fight or anything, but you can see if things don't change soon that something's going to happen.
Yeah, I wish one of the bosses had a clever idea.
Well, if Caspian ever gets a chance to make Rhett's life difficult and or make him dead, Caspian will definitely take that opportunity.
Okay. So Rhett is the leader of the rugged crew. Rhett pretty much has a couple of underbosses, Jenna, who is a navigator, and Monya, who is a fixer. And then Rhett is not very far behind another navigator, another fixer, and a gearhead. They're the sort of the people that sort of follow them around. And then there are another 11 or so forces. And the thing with their gang is they're all armed with scrap pistols or rifles. And they're probably the biggest sort of like traditional sort of gang that you would expect to see.
Right, but now that we're stationary, they're sort of losing power, aren't they?
They are, because they were the navigators, and although the fixers are still the ones that kind of find things, and they kind of like have little groups that go out into the zone to sort of like pick up the odd artifact here and that kind of thing. So if you want any food or anything stockpiled, you're still really in to see the fixers, and their gang are the majority of the fixers. I think there's a couple from the other gangs. I think Elson has some, and Anwin might have one, but they're the sort of like people that you've got. Do you want to try and make their life harder? You can absolutely align yourself with one of the other gangs if you wish to, or one of the other bosses. The goal for Rhett is Rhett basically wants to take over from the Elder. That's pretty much it. Rhett wants to be the leader of the Ark and do the things that they want to do.
Well, Rhett killed my friend, and I think he's a homicidal maniac. So ain't no way Rhett's taking over the Ark over my dead body.
Rhett is a she, and
Okay.
there is a picture of, I'll show you a picture of Rhett.
Yep, just saw it. Looks very scary. I would like to
so
put a
she's-
bullet into that person's head.
By all means, if you'd like to do that, I'm more than happy to start a bit of a war. Alternatively, how else would you like to kind of bother Rhett? Or, I mean, feel free if you want to.
Poison Rhett's food.
Okay. Do you have any kind of poison or anything like that? Would you like to sort of ask the rest of your crew if that's what you'd like to do, or you want to keep it on the down low?
I'm going to keep it on the down low for now.
Okay.
I don't know what they think of Rhett.
Okay.
Though every once in a while, I might, since Cochrane is a chronicler and the chroniclers are in with Rhett for the most part, I might like.
Well, the chroniclers are with Anwin.
Oh, they're with Anwin. I thought they were with Rhett.
No,
there is some chroniclers with Rhett.
There are a couple of chroniclers with Rhett,
Oh,
but most of them are with Anwin.
So is it people like Roach who would be in with Rhett?
No, I'm well in with Elson's gang.
Yeah, Elson's gang. Okay.
Yeah, same.
Cochrane thinks Elsa is useless. So,
Well, Caspian thinks that Anwin is the one who should be leading us because she's the keeper of knowledge, and knowledge will keep us alive.
speaking of knowledge, how is our elder doing these days? There was on the way out last time.
She is currently still on the way out, or she hasn't improved. But no one's seen the Elder since Anwin really kind of started to sort of like take care of her and make sure she's fine through her final days. As I would say.
Yeah. So unless
She's
we find
too
some sort of magical
secretive.
thing, yeah.
For those that went around last time, so here is Anwin, and here is Elson's quite a tall individual. He's sort of quite slim, quite tall, and he has insect wings, which kind of like unfold. Anwin is sort of like average build, quite emaciated, speaks with a grunting voice. You have no idea what kind of mutation that Anwin has. And then Rhett's kind of got this weird sort of like pockmarked face, and you know that she is a human toad, which means that she also secretes poison through her skin. it's a very interesting dynamic that they have. For, as I said, Anwin probably wouldn't have been in with much of a chance, because pretty much the elder is starting to sort of fail in her health and potentially may die. She's managed to keep that quite close, and so she's actually gained a lot more power. But yeah, I mean, if any of you want to help alter the dynamics of the arc, you have every possibility to do so. Whether that's from a scrap rifle that's sort of like 50 yards as they wander past on a retinue, or it's, a bit of poisoning, feel free to go ahead and do so. I guess while we're kind of like talking about it, I know, Pete, you said that Roach kind of follows Elson. Does Cochrane kind of like follow Anwin?
No, really. I think the only one he really cares about, who he gets along with, is Victor, who I think is one of the chroniclers for Erwin.
Yeah, so Anwin has Victor is the underboss for Anwin.
Yeah, but he just doesn't get involved with political stuff.
Okay, so Victor is quite a young member of the people, and he's sort of like got this sort of like very boyish sort of like look to him, and he's got sort of like these little pot marks on his face, and he's got bright red hair, and he's sort of like someone you get along with. And his whole thought is that if they can kind of like get as much knowledge as possible, eventually that they can, him and those people around him can become the heroes, like hearing the stories of old, and basically bring the art to sort of like a place where you can just multiply and have a nice life. Everything ends happily ever after. You sail off into the sunset.
That's a nice positive attitude, like Moss has a lot of the time, but to do with technology, how she's like, technology will make everything better.
He's speaking of Eden.
He is. Yeah, he is indeed speaking of Eden.
Eden doesn't exist. Maui, on the other hand.
Bite your tongue, Cochrane.
Do you have any evidence? I have plenty of stories about old Maui, and that is paradise.
Maui?
You see, you have to study the old songs of the sea. Come by later, I'll explain it.
In a handy little shanty.
They say it's to the east.
They do say it's to the east. Nice plug. Okay. Yeah. So
is it possible to speak to Anwin?
Yeah. You can speak to Anwin. It's fine. There's no reason why you can't. If you want to kind of like set up an appointment, as it were, you can do. Is she free? Yeah, you can do that. But you can do that as a group, or you just want to do it on your own.
Is it possible to do it with any of the bosses?
You could do it with any of the bosses.
I will do it with Rhett.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd be interested in sort of, I mean, I don't think I'm double frothy enough to really pull off some big espionage here, but I think I'd like to speak to Anwin under the sort of pretense of, whatever, suggesting how best to run the gardens on the new island or something. But really, I need to know what this business with the elder is. I think she's hoodwinking us all here, and I'm just thinking she's doing this to keep us sort of living in the old times. She's opposed to innovation, and I think she's like just telling us a load of crap about the elder's wishes when it's clear that they no longer have any.
Okay, what's Roach going to do?
If I know a bit about Caspian's thing with Rhett.
Caspian wants to speak to Rhett, I mean. So you as all of you, or...
And if I know a little bit about his history, I will suggest to him that I'm in with Elson, in with his gang. We can't get involved in the inter-gang things at this stage, but secretly, if he needs any help, if he needs anything to back up, if he makes a move, just ask.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And what does Cochrane want to do?
He doesn't get involved in any of this, so he'll just be off doing his old thing. Maybe he'll be like hanging around like Victor and that, so he might be around the people. Oh, the chronicler. I forget what her name was. We literally just said it.
He's just gonna write the chronicle of how a no name navigator got himself killed.
Yeah, this is going to be like one of these like Big Irons or El Paso, where it's just like, the guy got gunned down at the end of the song as a warning.
So is Roach going to go with Caspian to go and see Brett?
No, he won't get. He doesn't want his face involved in it. But
okay, well in that case, we will end the session with Caspian going to speak to Rhett, and with Moss going to speak with Anwen, leaving Roach to kind of like just chill out, relax, and Cochrane prepare himself for another evening of sea shanties.